say.
Well,
I thought
I think
that's
so.
unusual for me.
I know. Well, maybe it's a mistake.
I
All
think
right.
it's so.
Okay, so what do you want to talk
Who
about?
cares? I have nothing to say.
Well,
Uh, I thought you were going to ask me
I
questions.
am going to ask you questions. You want to talk about, what were we talking about the other day? Oh, how about your lunch with Mike Gordon you were talking about?
Oh, it was delightful. I
Uh-huh.
mean, the clam chowder wasn't good. It was like
Was
starch.
What'd you talk about
But
with him?
we just reminisced about everybody in Baltimore and Montgomery Avenue and people we knew in Hopkins, walking to school at Hopkins, to
What,
Hopkins with all the boys in the neighborhood.
did he go to Hopkins?
Yeah, they all went. Leon, Mike, Bennett, Howard Kaplan, um, Carol Rosenberg.
Uh-huh.
They all went. And they used to walk, and it was really a nice couple of miles. They used to walk over and back through the park.
It must have taken him all day.
It did. But we talked about the dates we had.
Did you used to date him?
Yeah, when I was about 14,
Really?
15.
Speak up, speak loud.
When I
For
was
how long?
14 or 15, we dated. We went to
Uh-huh.
the club dances and that sort of thing. We never went out on real dates. None of us did.
Uh-huh.
We just, and they used to sit on my porch and talk about communism when we went to Hopkins. And then he joined the group theater in New York.
Uh-huh.
And then moved to California, directed Cyrano de Bergerac, and pleaded the Fifth Amendment when the McCarthy era came in.
Why? Does he ever talk about that?
Yes, he did. I think maybe Elizabeth, his wife, was
Uh-huh.
from communism.
He wasn't?
Well, he at that time, communism was great.
Uh-huh.
When it was first started, the idea was wonderful.
Yeah.
And so they were all pro. And they used to sit and talk on my porch till 3 in the morning about all the boys in the neighborhood. They went to Hopkins.
Uh-huh.
And so we just talked. And it was just nice.
Yeah.
Good seeing him again because I really grew up with him.
So who did you date after him?
Oh, Howard Kaplan.
Oh, wait a second. Time out for a minute. How do I do this?
I went out with Howard Kaplan, who lived next door to me, who was
Uh-huh.
the lacrosse player, went to the Olympics from Hopkins,
Oh.
France, in
Uh-huh.
Paris.
Ooh.
And I still have a clipping in the attic of their pictures.
Mm.
And then when I got a little bit older, I started going out with the dental students and medical students and pharmacy students.
How did you do that? How'd you
Our
manage that?
neighborhood was full of students.
Uh-huh.
They all had rooms in the neighborhood.
Oh.
And but I met Bill on a blind date. He
Oh.
was in his first week of medical school, actually, and didn't know anybody. So one of my friends got 3 medical students, blind dates. And we went to the Southern Hotel room where we used to have what they called Bible class dances. But actually, I guess maybe the temple sponsored a lot of it. Had marvelous bands. And he was a terrific dancer, and I fell in love with his voice.
His voice?
Yep.
Oh.
And then I didn't see him much again because he was afraid of not being able to study if he started a date.
Mm.
So I didn't see him for a while, and he lived way down near the University of Maryland, which was way downtown. But then he moved uptown about 4 doors to me. So I used to stand down the porch every day and wait for him to come to medical school. But he was a little bit he was afraid today because he liked me. And then,
Did he tell you he liked you?
well, I
You knew?
sort of knew it. But then we did start a thing.
Mm-hmm.
We used to go out for Sunday breakfast. We walked about a mile down to Fulton Avenue, Montgomery Avenue, where he had breakfast because he ate his meals out.
Mm.
And then we started a date. We used to go to the theater, and for $1 we sat in the third balcony.
Ooh.
We saw the little show with Libby Holman. And he was a good bridge player, but I never really liked him.
Mm.
And then one day I went to pick him up at medical school. My father used to let us have his car a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And we decided to run away and get married. Don't ask me why.
How did you decide that?
Huh?
Who decided?
I decided. I said, how would I like to go get married? I think. So we went to Elkton.
Uh-huh.
And when we got to Elkton, we got the license from wherever you get the license for. And then I said, I don't think I want to be married by a justice of peace. I'd rather be married by a rabbi. All of a sudden, I got religious.
Was he religious then, or he didn't care?
No, he didn't care.
Uh-huh.
His parents were very
Were they?
very orthodox,
Hmm.
but he didn't care. But so we went to Wilmington, which was about 10 miles away.
Mm-hmm.
And it was Friday night, and we just got the rabbi before he started the Friday night services.
Uh-huh.
And my marriage certificate is all in Hebrew.
Oh.
I can't even read it.
Did you have any witnesses, or did anybody know?
No, just his somebody that was there.
Uh-huh.
Got married.
Oh.
And then we drove home, and he went to his house. And then the next morning, lo and behold, the license was in the paper.
Oh my goodness.
You didn't know that?
Ah.
Yeah, the license was in the paper. And people started, I said, oh, well, we went and got a license, but we're not married.
Uh-huh.
So then my grandmother said, if you tell me if you're really married, I'll treat you to a dinner. She didn't even have any money. I don't know how she would treat me.
Who was this, your mother's mother or your father?
My mother's mother lived with us.
Oh, she did. I didn't know that.
Yeah. That was Miss Wallen.
Uh-huh.
And
What was her first name?
Rosa.
Uh-huh.
And so I told her, and then I told my mother.
Mm-hmm. What'd they say?
And they were glad because they fell in love with Bill.
Mm-hmm.
My mother adored him.
She did.
Yeah, my father too. And but we lived together. But then by then he had taken an apartment on a room on Utah Place with Earl Harris, his roommate. And so I used to go down there and meet him.
Mm-hmm.
And
So you didn't live together?
no, not for a long time.
Oh.
But, I mean, we lived together, but we didn't, you know.
Uh-huh.
And then he got a job with delivering babies for the city. He couldn't afford to go to medical school. His parents lost all their money
Oh.
during the Depression.
When was that? Like for him,
That was in his third year, fourth year medical school.
and he had to stop school?
He didn't stop. He got a job at the city,
Uh-huh.
and he delivered about 350 babies
While he was going to school?
while he was going to school.
Oh.
And he lived on Madison Avenue in a room, and her ghost who also did the same thing.
Oh.
And they lived in the same house on Madison Avenue.
Hmm.
And then when he graduated, he interned at Sinai. I used to come home every other night by that time. And then Betty was born.
Hmm.
And we lived with my mother until Betty was 5.
How was it for you having a baby? Do you remember?
Oh, it was awful. It was great. It was great after I had her.
Uh-huh.
But having her was terrible. I got an anesthetic, but it was awful each time. I think it's terrible.
Uh-huh. How about having a little baby at home?
Oh, it was great.
Was it? Uh-huh.
Maury was living at home at the time.
Uh-huh.
Actually, my mother, I couldn't get out of bed in the morning. I still can't get up early. And so my mother used to bring her down after when she got the bottle. And she used to take care of her until I got up.
Well, that was nice.
And then she spent the first year and a half or so in the playpen in my mother's living room. And on the porch, we had a big porch on Winds Falls Parkway. We used to take her out the park. And then I got a girl by the name of Catherine that came to take her out in the afternoons. Don't ask me why, I don't know. But anyhow,
Maybe you needed to go back to sleep for
I
a
had to go
while.
back to sleep here for a while. But Catherine had a sister named Elsie, who to this day is still part of our family.
Oh my goodness.
When Catherine left, she taught school, and she had gone to teacher's training. And so Elsie took over. And not for my mother, actually. Because once I moved from my mother, I had a girl by the name of Alice.
Where did you find Alice?
A friend of mine, Edith Solms, maid, was a friend of Alice's. And Alice didn't like her job. She worked for kosher people. She used to get everything mixed up, and the woman almost killed her. So she left. And at that time, she was getting $6 a week. And I paid her $7. So
A big-time spender
deal
here.
to her. But she was absolutely marvelous. The first day she came in, the next morning she came in the morning, she had a whole breakfast made for Bill.
Oh.
Scrambled eggs and whatever. She was just terrific. And she's like part of my family. She calls my children her white grandchildren. And I still see her every couple of weeks. I go down to see her. So she worked for me for about 30 years.
Uh-huh. She feels very close to you, but she also
Oh.
adored Daddy, didn't she?
She what?
Adored
She
Daddy.
adored
Yeah.
Bill, yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, when he died, she went to the funeral parlor to see him.
She did?
Yeah, the night he died.
I remember the day he died. She was down in the basement with me. I was watching TV, and she was sitting in the back with her head on the table crying.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but so what else do you want to know?
We were.
Then when we moved to Elamont Road, Betty was, Betty is 56 and Nancy will be 50, so she was 6 years old.
Hmm.
And then I had a miscarriage
Oh.
a couple years later. And then Nancy was born.
In the first 3 months?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, about the second month.
Oh. Uh-huh.
And then I got pregnant again. Nancy was born. And then Janice, and then Anne. And, but we had a good time in our house. Our house was like the neighborhood arena or something.
How come?
Because nobody else would let the kids in the house dancing. So they used to come in my living room and play and dance. Especially when they got older, the jitterbug that went on my Oriental rug was unbelievable. It was quite boring.
I remember.
But I didn't care. I loved it. But Bill and I used to dance with them.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I don't remember that. I remember after
Bill
Daddy died.
always danced. Oh, but that was sure. You weren't big enough. But in fact, Bill taught a lot of Nancy's boys. Well, I guess when they were 14, a lot of the boys had to dance.
Oh.
The 1-2 step.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And he was a great dancer.
All right, tell me a little bit about his family, and then I want to hear about your family. Remember we were talking the other day?
Yeah, but I don't know too much about Bill's
Well,
family.
tell me the names and everything.
Well,
and
he had an uncle, Bill Friedelson.
Friedelson, okay. And this is his mother's brother.
His brother. And they had 2 children. One was a daughter and a son. But I lost track of them after Bill died. I mean, I just never. In fact, Mary came down to see me once after that. Oh God, look what's sitting here, a cat.
That's all you need.
Um,
Just tell it to scat or something, maybe.
and-
Let me turn this off for a minute and oh, it's gone, okay.
And then he had his mother's sister and her husband and she had a son and 2 daughters.
Do you remember her last name?
I don't remember her last name.
How about Mary's children, Mary and Billy's
I
name?
don't remember their children's names either because I really never saw much of them. Bill he was close to his aunt and uncle, but he never saw the rest of the family very much. I don't know why, but he just never went back to New York. He loved Baltimore.
And his parents came over from Russia?
His parents came, his mother came from Lithuania.
Oh.
His father came from Russia.
Uh-huh.
And that's all I know about them. Well, his father was in the jewelry business. Had a place on 2nd Avenue, and then they moved to 33rd Street, and then moved to Riverside Drive. When he made a lot of money, it was worth a lot of money because I could tell from their apartment, I still have some of the Oriental Road. But he lost it all in the second mortgage during the crash.
Oh my.
1929 crash.
Is that, and then he got sick after that, is that?
No, she did. She
Oh,
got
she did.
cancer, and she died. And
What
then
kind
about
of
a year
cancer did
later-
she have?
And then he moved from that apartment.
What kind of cancer did she have?
Ovaries.
Ovaries.
And then he moved way up to 178th Street with Ira.
Oh.
And Ira came home one night, found he had had a cerebral hemorrhage. He was dead in the hole.
Oh my.
And so that was the end of that. And then Ira moved down to Baltimore.
So when was that? Were you on Elamont Road already, or?
Oh, no.
Oh, so they went.
With my mother. I drove up with Bill in the middle of the night. We drove up. My father drove.
So those Daddy's parents died very close
they died
together.
very young. They were in their 50s.
Oh my. And what about his father's family? The Konigsbergs?
Well, that's who I'm talking about.
Oh.
His sister that had 2 children. 2.
Oh.
No, had 3 children, a son and 2 daughters. But I don't know too much about them. I met them at the funeral, and I met them once afterwards, but I never saw them again. And
Mm.
I don't know why Bill just never had a desire to see any of them.
Mm.
His mother had quite a few sisters, but one of them was Tessie, and one of them came down to see us, but we were too little, I guess. She was tremendous, big fat,
Obese.
yeah, obese.
You think she had thyroid problems like the rest of the
No,
family?
no,
Just fat, okay.
no. That was the father's side.
Oh, it was. Uh-huh.
And then I don't know. I don't know what else to say. The, Bill had a heart problem.
When did he find out?
He was right before I had Nancy.
Uh-huh.
Right before Nancy was born.
You were pregnant?
Wait a minute. Sure, I was pregnant. How could I have had Jarvis and Ann after that? He didn't die then.
I know. I'm saying. I
Oh,
mean, when you found out he had a heart problem.
yeah, I think I was pregnant with Nancy. Yeah, yeah. And I remember he was afraid to drive from our house to Sinai, which was very far, and so Alan Schwartzman, a cousin of ours, drove us when I was in labor. And
Did he know he'd had a heart attack?
well, he knew he walked around for a long time without doing anything. He finally went to my Uncle Sam Walden, who was a heart and lung specialist. And when my uncle sent him right home and told him to get in bed, which he did, but he didn't stay there very long, because the first thing I knew, a couple of weeks later, he went to the baseball game with my father, walked up all those steps to what's the name. So my Uncle Sam decided he couldn't take care of him, he just didn't listen to him. So he sent the Dr. Shirless over to took care of him. But then he lived 13 years after that.
Yeah, he seemed pretty careful.
Yeah, well, he wasn't too careful, but it didn't seem to matter. And in those days, we thought it was awful, but these days they tell you to exercise.
Yeah.
So I guess he was doing the right thing.
Well, but he had a lot of stress in his work, too.
Yeah, well, he was an obstetrician, and every doctor has stress. Although he was very lucky and really never had too many problems. He was the outstanding obstetrician in the city. And when at 47, he really got a heart attack and died the next day.
Did he know it then that night? That was after your party.
He knew, I think. It was after a party we had had.
Did he tell you?
No, but he told a nurse in the hospital right before he died that he hoped he left his affairs in order.
I see.
I never found that out until a couple years later.
My goodness.
But,
Isn't that sad?
So that was...
Okay,
is that enough?
No, it's not enough. We haven't talked about your family yet. I mean, we did talk a little bit about but I mean your parents and and the Wallmans and that whole...
My father's father came from Russia in 18-something. I have his civilization papers. And my mother came over when she was 2. From Russia. From Poland, actually. And
your father was from Russia and your mother was from Poland.
Yeah. And my grandfather, in order to come over here and get out of the war, put one eye out.
No.
Yeah, he did.
Whose father was this?
My father's father. A lot of people did that, Ann. It's not unusual.
Oh my God.
It wasn't unusual. They cut off a finger.
How come?
But he put his eye out. Because it was such a horrible, horrible army to go into. It was for the Jews. It was just awful.
What army? The Russian army?
Russian army. I don't know how old he was. He was probably very young. But so they came over my father came over when he was about 2.
Well, how many brothers and sisters did he have?
My father had 4 brothers, no sisters, 5 brothers.
My goodness.
6 of them. And my mother came. My grandfather came first, and then they sent for my grandmother, and she brought all the children. There were Sam, Leo, Abel, and Ward, and Frida, and my mother. And I think my grandmother had a couple of children that were born dead.
Really? After what?
After she was in America.
Oh.
But the Wallmans really were outstanding all over 2 of them all over the world, I think. Abel. Well, you want me to tell you about Abel?
Sure.
Well, Abel got his sanitary engineering degree from Hopkins and worked for the state In fact, he used to say he worked in the sewers, but actually he didn't. He didn't. He did all the, he wiped out typhoid fever
How
for
did he?
good.
How do you mean? Why?
Well, with his the sewage work and water work,
Mm-hmm.
and he and another guy discovered something that, oh, chlorine, I think, was put in the water.
That's right, chlorine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so he set up water systems all over the world, including Israel and, all the South American countries. And
What kind of person was he?
quite outstanding, a great, great, quiet, soft-spoken. You met him, didn't you, Jeff? Very soft-spoken, darling. He was my favorite. Well, he and Mort were my favorites, really. The doctor was had a very sharp tongue.
Sam?
The interns at Sinai Hospital were scared to death of him.
Really?
Yeah. But they all have his pictures hanging in their offices.
Oh.
So they learned plenty.
And he was married to Adele,
He was
but
married to Adele, who was from New York, yeah.
she wasn't related
What do you mean?
to our family.
Well, she was his wife, so it was my
Oh, I
aunt.
know, but I mean, it's not like Ann and Rebecca. Oh,
Oh,
right,
no, no. So-
who were sisters. Yeah.
No.
Okay.
Now, Mort's wife and Abel's wife were sisters. They
Right.
were Mike Gordon's
Oh.
father's sisters.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's how we're so close to.
I see.
And Leo was an economist, and he went with President Wilson group to Paris on the Peace Conference. And he wrote a lot of books, and he became professor of economics at Columbia University. And very outstanding. He was on the board of Exxon Corporation. He was the first one of the beginners with Samuel Gompers in the unions in New York for the clothing workers,
I didn't know
for
that.
the sweatshops. Yeah, yeah. And he and the two other guys, Blumenthal, I think his name is Blumenthal, and Samuel Gompers, who's quite well known. And he, you know. But later on, he got a little bit disgusted with all the riots and all the unions really got out of hand, so he wasn't so active. But he died not too old either. He was a pianist, played beautifully. He died, I guess, in his 60s.
Mm-hmm. And he has children?
Or something. He has one. Oh, he married a girl who was named Cecil, and she was named after Cecil County in Maryland. Real high society. Her father manufactured railroad cars. Clark Equipment, which is on the Wall Street Exchange, on the big New York Exchange. And she was beautiful. They have one son who was an outstanding mathematician and worked for Bell Telephone as one of the executives for years. He just retired.
What's his name?
Eric.
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 Okay.
And then there was Mort, who was in his early 20s, got tuberculosis.
Oh, I
So
didn't know that
He
either.
was sent
That's
to
a lot I didn't
Saranac for
know.
about 2-3 years, but he was cured. And he was an insurance guy. I think he always had an inferiority complex because the other.
He was
brother.
very funny, though.
But he was great. He was like a comedian, a
Mhm.
riot, really. Just a wonderful. They all were just great people.
Mm-hmm. And his children
Oh,
are.
his children. One of them is Lee Mark, who's an engineer. He's a bridge engineer,
Mhm.
or a bridge company, whatever you call it. And his daughter, Joan, married Brand Hollander.
And she was a pianist,
And she's
too.
a pianist. She played with the Boston Symphony once.
Mm-hmm. And then what about,
Oh, Abel's son.
uh-huh.
Abel's son, Reds, is following Abel's footsteps. He's professor of geography at Hopkins, and he travels all over the world on environmental diseases and things.
Mm. And Sam and Adele just had Judy, right?
Had Judy and Margie.
Oh, and Mark, I forgot about Margaret, yeah.
Well, he had two daughters,
Mhm.
Judy and Margie. Margie went to Swarthmore, graduated Swarthmore, which was unusual for girls. She's in her 70s now, so in those days, very bright. And she worked for the money department for the government.
And then how did Lucille fit into the picture?
Well, Lucille Liberless and Bess Moses were all friends of Abel and Anna's and Mort and Rebecca's. They lived in Windsor Hills. And Every Saturday, Abel and Anna had lunch for Lucille Liverless and Bess Moses and Fort Rebecca. And the Hollanders, Esther and Vern and Walter Holland. They met every Saturday at their house for lunch. I used to go sometimes.
You got to go. That's fun. That sounds like a lot of fun. Interesting.
Such intelligent, intellectual boy.
Mhm.
I know my mountains. I wouldn't dare.
Okay, and what about your father's brothers and
My
sisters?
father's brothers were all business people.
Uh-huh.
They were not the same. The intellectuals. Yeah, they were great. They were wonderful people. But they were all in business.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, my father was in business with one brother.
Well, who are they?
Well, one of them was Harry, which was my closest cousin. Doris were like sisters.
Oh.
Father. And they had a lot of children, and they lived in Baltimore, and they moved to New York. He was an inventor of everything. He went to New York, and he started a factory making children's clothes. But gorgeous stuff. I used to get all the samples when I was little, so they were gorgeous. But then he decided he would invent little clips in the wholesale places that held back the dresses in the back. Instead of putting, you know how when you see dresses in the store, they're held back.
Oh, yeah.
They're not hanging loose.
Mm-hmm.
And these were little rubber clips that he decided they clipped onto each end of the dress and pulled them back.
Sounds like a good idea.
And he called it Protex Products, and he ended up with all the plastic shoe boxes and dress bags and all that stuff. He made a lot of money.
I'll say.
In that.
Okay, and so he was Doris's
He
father.
also used to play Jewish. He used to compose Jewish pieces on the piano.
Oh, really?
Which was a ride. He was quite a character. My father had a men's furnishing store
Uh-huh.
on Baltimore Street all those years. And but my father could do anything. If the plumbing needed fixing, if the electricity, and how he knew, I don't know, because he never even went to school. I don't think he went to the 3rd grade. Because they had to support the grandfather, who had asthma, and he did nothing but read the sitter, which was a Bible.
Productive.
And he used to inhale stuff, which I think might have been marijuana for asthma. I don't know.
It was probably
But we used to
cocaine.
call it snuff.
It was probably cocaine, I think.
No, it wasn't cocaine. It was snuff.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe in those days that's what it was. I don't know. But all the brothers supported him. They all did well.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So who was Dave's Schwartzman's
Dave's
father?
father was my father's brother,
Which one?
Meyer.
Uh-huh.
And
And how about Isidore?
now Isidore was a nephew.
Oh.
He was married, and he has 2 sons. One of them's I think the one I told you about.
Alan,
Yeah, what do you call him?
architect.
Architect in New York. Does very well.
And who's the other one?
The other one is Samuel, who is the most gorgeous kid I've ever seen. And he lives in Florida. He's in business.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now tell me about your sisters and brother.
What do you want to know?
Well, about their families and stuff, and what they were like growing up. Let's start with Dot.
Well.
Start with Dot.
Well, Dot would tell you that I was a pain in the neck because I used to follow her around with her girlfriend.
Well, you
behind
probably
her,
were.
Behind.
You probably were, Ma.
I probably.
I don't think you've changed. Maybe you haven't changed all that much.
And Bernice,
Only kidding.
Bernice was very quiet. Margie was gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous. Too bad she died at 31.
Mm.
She was married for a few years and had a child 2 and a child 4.
Oh my.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
But she was
What? How much younger was she? She was the youngest.
She was the youngest.
Mhm.
Well, she was quite much younger than Bernice.
Mm.
And Maury, when my father wanted to go into business,
Mhm.
had a fit. He turned it because he thought playing tennis was teaching tennis was like a tennis ball.
Mm.
But he turned out that he's still teaching and he loves it.